What if the convenience of a late-night Uber ride turned into your worst nightmare? What if the driver isn't who they say they are, and the destination isn't where you're meant to go? Alone in the dead of night, with only the hum of the engine and a stranger at the wheel, you're about to discover the true cost of this ride. Welcome to the chilling tale of late Uber ride. The city was unusually quiet that night. The streets were slick with rain, reflecting the eerie glow of flickering streetlights. Karen's heels clicked against the wet pavement as she hurried out of the bar. The night's laughter and music faded into silence as she moved further from the safety of the crowd. Her phone buzzed in her hand. "Your Uber has arrived." Relieved, Karen scanned the street until she spotted a black sedan idling at the curb. Its headlights sliced through the fog, and the driver's face was obscured by shadow. She approached cautiously, her unease growing with each step. The driver lowered the window. He was an older man with a kindly face, his smile just wide enough to be reassuring. "Karen?" he asked in a gravelly voice. She nodded. "Yes, that's me." "Hop in," he said. Karen slid into the back seat, shivering slightly as the leather stuck to her damp skin. The faint scent of stale coffee and air freshener filled the car. She glanced at her phone to confirm the driver's name and photo. Everything matched. She buckled her seatbelt as the car pulled away from the curb. The ride started uneventfully. The man, whose name was Hal, according to the app, made small talk about the weather and the city's nightlife. Karen answered politely, but kept her responses short. She was tired and eager to get home. They drove through the city's empty streets, the rain tapping a steady rhythm on the car's roof. Karen's eyes began to droop when she noticed something odd. The route on her app showed they were heading in the wrong direction. "Excuse me," she said, leaning forward. "I think you're going the wrong way." Hal glanced at her in the rearview mirror, his eyes calm but unreadable. "Don't worry, miss. This is a shortcut. We'll be there in no time." Karen frowned. She wasn't familiar with this part of town, but it didn't feel right. The buildings were older, crumbling, and the streets were poorly lit. Her phone's GPS still insisted they were off course. "I'd prefer if you stuck to the route," she said firmly. Hal didn't respond. The car's speed increased and Karen's unease deepened. Minutes passed, and the cityscape gave way to desolate industrial areas. Abandoned factories loomed like skeletons in the darkness. Karen's heart pounded as she realized she was completely alone with a stranger in a place where no one could hear her scream. "Where are we?" she demanded, her voice shaking. Hal's smile widened unnaturally. "Almost there." Karen's stomach turned. She clutched her phone and tried to dial 911, but there was no signal. Panic set in as she reached for the door handle, only to find it wouldn't budge. The locks clicked ominously. "Let me out!" she shouted. Hal's voice was calm, almost soothing. "Relax, Karen. The ride isn't over yet." Karen's mind raced. She scanned the car for anything she could use as a weapon. Her purse was on the floor, just out of reach. The driver's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, catching her movements. "You really should sit still," he said. "It's safer that way." Ignoring him, Karen lunged for her bag, but the car swerved violently, throwing her back against the seat. Hal's expression darkened as he locked eyes with her in the mirror. "I said sit still," he barked. Karen froze, tears streaming down her face. She clutched her phone tightly, praying for a miracle. The car came to an abrupt stop in front of a decrepit warehouse. The windows were shattered and the walls were covered in graffiti. Hal stepped out of the car and walked around to her door. Karen's mind screamed at her to move, to fight, but her body refused to cooperate. Hal opened the door, his hand outstretched. "Come on, we've arrived." "Please, just let me go," she begged. He leaned closer, his smile gone. "This isn't about what you want." Karen's survival instincts kicked in. As Hal reached for her, she swung her purse at his face, catching him off guard. She scrambled out of the car and ran, her heels slipping on the wet pavement. The warehouse loomed ahead, the only place to hide. She darted inside, her breaths ragged. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. Shadows danced on the walls as her footsteps echoed. She found a corner to crouch in, her phone trembling in her hands. Still no signal. The sound of Hal's boots crunching on broken glass sent chills down her spine. "Karen," he called, his voice sing-song. "You can't hide forever." Karen scanned the room for anything she could use to defend herself. Her eyes landed on a rusted metal pipe. She gripped it tightly, her hands shaking. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Hal's silhouette appeared in the doorway. "There you are," he said, his smile returning. Karen's fear transformed into fury. She swung the pipe with all her strength, hitting Hal squarely in the chest. He stumbled back, coughing, but didn't fall. His smile twisted into something monstrous. "Good try," he said, "but you're going to have to do better than that." Karen ran deeper into the warehouse, weaving through the maze of machinery and debris. She could hear Hal's laughter echoing behind her. "This is my favorite part," he called. "The chase." She spotted a staircase leading to the second floor and took it 2 steps at a time. At the top, she found herself in an office with a shattered window. The rain poured in, soaking the floor. She leaned out, looking for a way down. The drop was too high. Hal's voice drifted up the stairs. "Nowhere to run, Karen." Desperation clawed at her throat. She grabbed a shard of broken glass from the window and pressed herself against the wall, waiting. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Hal entered the room, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Game over," he said, stepping closer. Karen lunged, slashing at him with the glass. He cried out, clutching his arm as blood seeped through his sleeve. She bolted past him, her bare feet skidding on the wet floor. She made it back to the ground floor and spotted an open door leading to the outside. Freedom was just steps away. She sprinted towards it, her heart pounding. Suddenly, Hal's hand clamped around her wrist. "You're not leaving," he growled. Karen twisted and turned, kicking and screaming. Her free hand found the metal pipe she had dropped earlier. She swung it with all her might, connecting with Hal's temple. He collapsed in a heap, motionless. Karen stumbled out into the rain, her body trembling. She flagged down a passing car, and the driver called the police. When they arrived, Hal was gone. The warehouse was empty, save for a trail of blood leading into the darkness. As Karen sat in the back of the police car, wrapped in a blanket, her phone buzzed. She looked down to see a notification from the Uber app. "Your ride has been completed. Please rate your driver." If you enjoyed this chilling tale, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us for more terrifying stories. Welcome to the world of nightmares. Welcome to Dine with Demon.